got some pretty big news at FedEx Field.
Okay.
Multiple sources saying that Dan and Tanya Snyder have cleared out the team's facility, meaning what we have all been suspecting, an impending sale of the Commanders could be imminent.
Okay.
To break down all the implications of this, we're joined by legal expert Seth Berenzweig. Good to see you, Seth. Let's talk about this. What does this mean? Because these sources are saying that back in December, the front office of Tanya and Dan Snyder was completely vacated. It's now March. We're going into this owners meeting and still no sale. But if they've left the premises, writing's on the wall. It must be.
Well, it appears from certain indications that the sale of the team is accelerating. You do have really one of the ultimate symbolic indicators that someone's leaving when they really clear out of their office at the facility. So obviously that's kind of a big deal. Also, you have within just a couple of days, the meeting of the owners of the NFL. And it's going to be very problematic for Dan Snyder if he's unable to announce at least some kind of a letter of intent or term sheet before the owners get together, because the owners have made it very clear that if there's not some quick movement on this front, that they're going to put major pressure on Dan Snyder. So we're really looking at a collision. There is a collision course coming between Dan Snyder and the owners, and it's really just a couple of days away. I think it's very likely that he will have a term sheet for a potential deal, and that means that things will be moving pretty quickly.
If this office was cleared out back in December, you say, and you know how long these things take, does Dan Snyder already have this put in place? He already knew who he was going to sell to back then, and he's just letting the drama play out?
Well, I think he knew from the big picture standpoint that he was really looking towards the exit door. I doubt that he knew the exact specifics in terms of who he was going to sell the team to, because the bidding process is something that's become more granular over time. But it's also moved forward pretty quickly. We have several bidders that are interested. They're all over $5 billion. So I agree with you generally that I think he knew that the writing was on the wall. He's already provided in recent corporate filings indications that he considers London to be his primary residence. So when you combine that with the fact that he cleared out of his office and that Bank of America has been trying to broker a deal, he's known for some time that this is in the works. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to get this through with the owners and they're going to be able to get this through smoothly, that's an entirely different story. So we better buckle in. There's going to be a lot of bumpiness. There's some storm clouds ahead, because we know that there are things that will be coming to a head within the next week and a half.
Yeah, without question. Seth, you walk into that owners meeting, you look before all the other NFL owners, and Dan Snyder doesn't show up with a letter of intent to sell the team. What happens then? What does counsel for the NFL, counsel for these other NFL owners say to them? Like, what's the next step?
Well, I think that will probably be led by owners such as Jim Irsay from the Colts. They've made it very clear to the commissioner that they've had quite enough and that they want him gone. So there's going to be a lot of torrent and a lot of fury at the meeting if things don't happen pretty quickly. The problem is this: even if we have a term sheet and there's an ability to be able to see that a deal is going to be coming, there are reports that Dan Snyder is demanding a broad indemnification, which is an additional benefit from the owners. I can't emphasize this enough. From a deal standpoint, that's extraordinary. Usually when someone comes in as a buyer, they're the ones that offer to indemnify, at least to some degree, the seller, so that when they leave, that they can just turn their back. It's really extraordinary in this context for Dan Snyder to demand that. The team, through its media, has denied that report. I really find the credibility of that to be questionable. So there's really going to be a lot of activity happening. So the two questions are, who is the potential lead for buying the team? And then secondly, is Dan Snyder going to cooperate? Those things are up in the air, but I promise you things will move very quickly within the coming days.
All right, Seth. If he does walk in asking for indemnification, it is not going to be an easy road, that's for sure, to clear that sale. Seth, we appreciate your expertise. Hopefully we'll have more news by the end of the month as to what is happening with the Commanders.